Where? There we go.
Hey.
Hey, Coach Walker.
You guys have issues with this thing too, sometimes. Or am I the only one?
I know Gil had a problem last week with it. Same style as you.
I feel like it's happening every day. So maybe I just got to start going into school. Okay. All right. How we doing?
Pretty good.
All right.
Good.
Good. Cobes, you doing all right?
Yes, sir.
Good. All right. Well, I think we can go ahead and get started. Stas, if you wouldn't mind praying for us. You look like a reverend, so I figure I might as well get you to pray for us.
All right. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Glory be to the Father, and to the Son, and the Holy Spirit, as it was in the beginning, is now, and shall be, world without end. Amen.
Amen.
Father, Son, Holy Spirit. All right. We gotta play a little bit of catch up because we've lost 14 minutes. So, what I want to do is, I've got the packet here, and I'm willing to go over the packet if there's a strong desire to do so. If not, I think we can go straight to the multiple choice questions. Are there concepts on the packet that you struggled with, something you'd like to talk about?
What are owner's equity and maturity?
Where are you seeing that? I see owner's equity.
Yeah. And maturity's under bonds there.
So owner's equity is not going to be a term I've never seen it on an AP exam. I've never seen it on a test. This guy thinks it's important. I don't think it's important. So the definition he gave for owner's equity was the amount of money owners have to put into a company or a bank. It does not have to be held into it does not have to be held in reserve. Okay. So that's what owner's equity would be. Again, I'm not requiring you know that, but if you want to know it, that's what it is.
Sir, I just got one question. Can you like refresh my memory on the relation between interest rates and investment?
Yes. Good question. So interest rates, how do interest rates impact investment? Does somebody want to answer that question for Connor?
The higher the interest rate, the lower the investment. The lower the interest rate, the higher the investment.
All right, thank you. That's what I thought.
Higher interest rates mean contractionary policy. Lower interest rates are expansionary. More investment means more money flowing. So think of it that way.
All right. Yeah.
So we're good with multiplier. Do we want to look at the answers for the multiplier practice, or you think we're okay there?
I'm good there.
I think we're
Good with the multiplier, whether it's tax, difference between the tax and regular multiplier. Stivers?
Tax is one less
What do you mean one less?
than the regular multiplier. Like you
Why?
said,
Why is it less?
because taxes don't have like a direct impact on the economy. So they're indirect, which makes their ultimate impact less.
But what is that one? What is that negative one meant to account for? Yes, Windsor.
When it's something like increasing federal spending, the initial amount sent out affects GDP and stuff like that. However, when it's a tax cut, it doesn't do that, and that one allows for that portion that's taken by the MPS.
Yes, MPS. Yes, so marginal propensity to save. People are going to save a certain amount, so we've got to account for that. So you know, Stivers, you're probably good as long as you know that taxes you take one away. But I always like to know the reason behind the reason, and that's what we have there. Anything else on this page that we need to cover? Are we good with the formula for a nominal interest rate, inflation rate, and real interest rate?
Yeah.
And we know how to, you know, reverse that. What is that formula, Connor?
It's real interest rate equals nominal minus inflation.
Yeah, nominal minus inflation. What's another way of stating the formula?
Nominal equals real plus inflation.
Yes. Know it both ways. You may have to, you know, I guarantee. I think that there will be a question even on the shorter version of the AP test on that. Good.
Could we go over the liabilities practice
Where?
at the bottom?
Yeah.
Oh, assets and liabilities, the spreadsheet.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so just questions 1 through 5 or just 5?
1 through 5.
Okay, 1 through 5. If the reserve requirement, so we'll just work our way around. If the reserve requirement is 0.1 or 10%, Windsor, we'll start with you. How much is this bank's required reserves and excess reserves?
Required reserves of 3,000 in excess of 27,000.
Okay, how'd you get the 3?
So they have $30,000 worth of liabilities.
Mm-hmm.
So 0.1 times 30,000 is 3,000, and the remaining 30,000 minus 3,000 is 27,000.
Yeah, they've got to keep 10% of the deposits on reserve. Let's see. And next question, going over to Bo. What is the maximum possible increase in the money supply if the bank loaned off all of its excess reserves?
Would you do 27,000 times 10? Is that what it'd be?
Heavens no.
Okay. Because I was confused by these two.
Okay. First of all, what are its excess reserves?
27,000.
27,000? No.
2,000, right?
It should be, Windsor, what did you state the excess reserves to be?
I said 27,000.
27,000?
Yes, because that 30,000 in liabilities. Now, this is before you told me that owner's equity is not something that they have to keep a reserve requirement on. So,
excess reserves. They're saying the answer is 3,000.
Okay.
And then 3,000 would be the excess reserves, and then with the reserve requirement of 10%, that would mean that you'd multiply it out. You'd use a multiplier of 10, and then 3,000 times the multiplier of 10 is 30,000. So you were saying 27 times 10. That's what they were saying. If you guys can figure out how they came to that, I'd appreciate it, because I can't. Just the way he does it, I don't quite know. Especially that he's including owner's equity. I think that's a curveball in here that we just never talked about that. I've never seen it.
Yeah, I don't know how you get 3,000.
I'm about to pull up my old PowerPoint because I like the way I teach it better.
It might be you only do 10% of the demand deposits, I guess. So the
But
normal
10% of the demand deposits would be 2,000.
and then so you go the total reserves and subtract 2,000 by that. That's what I was thinking, but I don't know.
No, I don't know. Let me see something else. So I'm going to pull up what we had talked about when we discussed this. Anybody remember what module this was? I want to say it was in the 20s.
Oh, let's see.
I'm pretty sure it's like 27 or something like that.
It is 25.
Yes. Okay, so I'm gonna use the bank example. We're just gonna use the bank example the same way that he did. And that's when we were talking about like Shaka Smart and Dan Marino and Alex Ovechkin and all those guys.
Yeah.
You guys remember that conversation?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so all right, so we had gotten through, okay, so let's use the business example first. We used the example of a sporting goods store, okay? And so this was the graph that we brought up illustrating the sporting goods store, that if we're talking about Jim's jerseys, he took out a $25,000 loan, right, to just for whatever, right? And so that's a liability for him. He's got $50,000 worth of equipment and $10,000 worth of cloth. And so we fast that forward to a bank example. And so we've got assets, liabilities the same way. And so what we should see, deposits, we know that that's going to be loaned out. They have 200,000 in reserves, and then loans. They're loaning out $800,000. So with this, what do we know about if they are going by the letter of the law, and what do we know about the reserve requirement in this case?
It's 10%.
Yeah, 10%. How are you coming up, Stas, with that figure?
They are having to keep 200,000, and that leaves 1,800 over 2 million.
Yeah, so we're assuming no excess reserves and that they're following what the law says, and so we've got 10% that is the reserve ratio in this case, and so that's really what I require for you guys to know. For this, really all you need to worry about is, as far as banks go, that what they're loaning out is an asset. Why? Why is that an asset for a bank, what they're loaning out?
Because they know
Because
they
they
get
know
money
that
back on it later.
Yes, they know that is meant to be paid back to them. What about why are deposits liabilities, Cobes?
because that's money that they've loaned out to other people and that they need to give back to that person on demand.
Correct. And so with that in mind, that's it. I think he got into some stuff that we don't necessarily need to worry about, in that he talks about it, just for example, question 10, a customer withdraws $50,000 or $15,000. Identify 3 options this bank. So, we know that. What would be the answer there? Stivers, what'd you get for number 5?
To avoid defaulting.
Yeah.
I said borrow from Fed, borrow from other banks, and then I didn't really know a third one, so I just said loan out money.
So good question. Okay, so he's saying sell treasury bonds. I don't think the banks can just they could sell their treasury. My issue is that that's an interaction between the Fed and the banks, not necessarily banks and people. If you said borrow money from the Fed, then you got it right, or borrow money from other banks. Borrow money for the Fed is called what?
Discount window?
Discount rate.
Yeah, the discount rate. Borrow money from another bank?
Federal funds rate.
Federal
funds rate. So those two are available to them. The banks, to my knowledge, the banks can't sell treasury bonds. One of you guys could research and check me on that. That's going to be the Fed's. That's what the Fed does when it's monitoring the interest rate and it wishes to manipulate the interest rate. But either borrowing money from the Fed or borrowing money for other banks is what the Fed what that bank would do. I'm just kind of moving backwards now. With question 4, if the $5,000 deposit is placed in reserve, I'll move even further back because we need context to answer that. Assume a customer deposits $5,000 into the bank. What is the initial change in the money supply? Good question. Let's see. Bo, go ahead and answer that one.
Is that 4,500?
Nope. Think about what the money supply consists of. So it's gone from a customer, right, into the bank itself. If it's in the bank, is it part of the money supply?
Oh, so minus 5,000?
Huh?
Like minus 5,000?
No. What makes it go out of the money supply? Let me, in a way to remember this. A way to remember this, Bo. How does the Fed increase the money supply?
By buying bonds.
By buying bonds. So is it safe to say then that when they buy those bonds, they have increased the money supply?
Yes.
Okay. So if they've increased the money supply just by buying the bonds, does the bank have to loan money for the money supply to have been increased? No, right? That money's gone from the Fed to the banks. Money supply has increased. Yes. Okay. So it certainly going into the people's hands increases it further. Why?
Because now they can spend it how they want.
You've got the money multiplier taking effect. People spending money, but if it's in the banks, that means it can be loaned out, and so we see the money supply. What you should have said is that we do not see a change in the money supply when it goes from individuals into the banks. Does that make sense?
All right.
And this is I mean, this is a small thing because we talked about increasing the money supply by loaning money out. But it's important to realize that before loans even take place, the money supply in effect is increased. So moving forward, if the $5,000 is placed in reserves, how much is demand deposits and excess reserves? And it's placed in reserves. How much is demand deposits and excess reserves? Okay, I got it. So what they're asking is how much do we see demand deposits increase? Kobe?
Demand deposit should increase by 4,500.
Well, how much was deposited? How much did we have in demand deposits initially?
20,000.
20,000. How much has been deposited?
5,000.
5,000. Thank you. So we have 25,000. You got that, Kobe? You got a bloody nose, Kobe? You need to go to the bathroom? You can. It's okay. Okay. And so 5,000. So so this is where it gets tricky. How much have bank reserves gone up as well as excess reserves? Stas, what do you think? How much have excess reserves gone up?
Well, excess reserves 5,000.
No.
Well, I mean, I was thinking I have 500 increase over here, but like they're not lending.
What's increased by 500?
The reserves.
The reserves.
Yeah.
Required reserves.
I was thinking they're not loaning it out, so the excess reserves has increased by 5,000.
Okay, well, the excess reserves has not increased by 5,000 because you already determined that 500 of that 5,000 is what?
Is what has to be
is required. Hold on, let me show you guys something here real quick. We're gonna illustrate this. I'm gonna use for the first time this drawing feature and see how it works out. All right, so you got 5,000. Get this out of here. 5,000. I feel like somebody on Khan Academy.
They get the nice tablets.
Yeah. It looks like when I do it that I've got an IQ of about 50. With this, so $5,000, Connor's gone to the bank and he's deposited $5,000. And Stas, you correctly determined based off of a reserve requirement of 10%, that 500 of that is what?
for the required reserve.
Is the required reserve. And so what is that going to mean about what is excess reserves?
4,500.
4,500. Where'd you get that number?
You just subtracted.
Yeah, but why did you do that?
Because you're not allowed to touch the $500 because of legal requirements, and you're not using the other money yet. You're just putting in reserves.
Okay, good. Good. Questions on that?
Hey, Coach.
Yes, sir.
I'm still having trouble with question 1 and 2. I'm still confused how we have 30,000 total and like reserves.
Kobe, don't worry about number 1. I'm not going to ask. I don't get it either. Okay, so stay away from number 1. The answer that he gave, and if somebody can figure this out, I will put a heart on the screen using the annotation. But if you how you come up with required reserves of 2,000 and excess reserves of 3,000, I'd be curious.
I think I can get that.
Okay, go for it, Windsor.
So there's 20,000 in demand deposits, and 15,000 of that has already been loaned out, and he has 5,000 in total reserves. So if the 10% reserve requirement, 10% of 20,000 is 2,000. So your total reserves of 5,000 minus your reserve requirement of 2,000 is your 3,000 in excess reserves.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes more sense.
Okay.
It's weird how it's all set up, but it's.
That is extremely weird.
Okay, good. All right, so we can continue then. All right. You guys figured out. If you guys haven't figured it out by this point, you're actually smarter than I am. Okay, that's why you're in an AP Econ class. I teach this class, but you get progressively smarter than me over the course of the year, and you're able to figure out some things that I haven't figured out. So that's the good thing. Let's see. Anything else on this page? All right. Did I required you to do the next page as well, right? We just finished off the packet, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Okay, so why don't we go over that? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to assign those multiple choice questions as homework. Remember, you have Unit 4 multiple choice. Do those questions individually, and those will be your quiz grade. That will be your quiz grade for this unit.
Sir, we couldn't get into those questions though.
You couldn't?
No.
You got
The same thing as last time.
What do you mean I did the same? I did what?
The lockdown.
I unlocked them, did I not?
It's like there to begin, but it did the same like lockdown browser thing.
Okay. Well, I thought you guys downloaded that lockdown browser. I told you to do it. Can you do that?
Yeah.
I need you guys to download that lockdown browser. Do that. I told you last week to do it, because what's going to happen is they're going to end up requiring that you do it yourselves. There is some information while I'm thinking about it that's been given out about the AP test, so I'm just going to pull that up here real quick. While you guys are figuring out that lockdown browser situation, or if you can download it, you got to do it on one thing, whether it's on your phone or whatever the case might be, because I'm pretty sure you need it. Okay, I'm seeing the email from you now, Connor, responding to my email.
Yeah. I think the teacher has to download it though.
What?
I'm not sure.
You're not throwing me under the bus. I've got that thing.
I don't know where it is.
It says like click here.
Yeah. Click on the huge thing.
It took like 2 minutes.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, I see it.
All right. All right, can you guys see this email over here?
Sir.
Yeah. All right, so it just what they're going to do is they're going to, very similar to what you guys have done in the past. I told you you're going to end up doing the writing. Let's just check this out. It's been a little while since I've looked at this email, but I remember there being a couple pertinent things specifically to you. You may have got, I think they said that they were sending you guys an email today as far as need to know information for the AP exam. Okay, so here we go. You guys are going to end up having like an exam e-ticket. And one thing you'll need to do, I know, before the exam, on the day of the exam, you guys need to log in 30 minutes prior, okay, just to make sure everything's working fine, and you might end up just sitting there and staring at a computer screen. The policy for Benedictine has not changed. You do not have to go to your classes or attend your classes in any way on days when you have an AP exam. Does anybody have an AP exam coming up sooner than this exam? Ours is the end of the month. There's the earliest I think I saw was mid-May, like around May 15th. Okay, so we're kind of coming up on it. Under normal circumstances, you guys would be taking your exams now. So 2 days before the exam, before each test you take, you're going to get an e-ticket. You'll need this ticket in order to check into your exam. So I assume when you click some sort of link associated with that email, you'll get this ID will be associated with your ticket, and you'll kind of go from there. And you guys have logged into My AP plenty of times. If you don't get the email, or for whatever reason you lose the email, you can log on. You can log on to the AP website and find that. Just make sure you don't give it to anybody, I guess. Let's see. All right, here's information on our test. So your e-ticket will be valid for the May exam schedule. All registered students have been scheduled for these May dates, whether or not they were originally registered for a regular or a late testing exam. Unless there is a significant conflict, students should choose to test in May so that they can have the June backup dates if they have any disruptions. If you can't test on one of these dates, don't use your e-ticket for that exam. You'll automatically receive a different e-ticket for the makeup testing in June. Okay, so I haven't heard anything about these makeup tests. Just make sure, I would plan on only having one plan, and that is to take the exam on your designated day. So for us, Thursday, May 21st. I don't know. I think that's when you receive the ticket, though. Yeah, it's not when you take the exam. I thought we had discussed that on a different. I thought we had discussed the exam on a different day.
Yeah, I thought it was later than that.
That's what I thought too. I thought it was at least a week later than that. So maybe they're saying that's when you get your ticket. Okay, so June makeup date. Looking for macro. It looks like our date is June 4th. Is anybody thinking that they'll have to do that, or you guys should all be good for the regular date? Yeah. I mean, I can't stop you. If you want to fall back on June 4th, I guess it's your prerogative.
No.
Yeah. I'd prefer to take it sooner. June 4th, you don't want to be thinking about school. All right. Each subject will be taken simultaneously worldwide. Your AP teacher or coordinator will help you identify your local testing time. Students taking, okay, so that didn't apply to us. Online exams start at your local equivalent of 12 p.m., 12 or 2 p.m. or 4 p.m. So for us, we'll be taking 2 p.m. What to expect this year's exams? It won't be difficult. It won't be more difficult to earn a 3 or a 4. To me, that means it's going to be easier.
Yeah.
That's what that means to me. If you're reading between the lines, they're not going to make it more difficult.
What they said it was just going to be like 1 or 2 FRQs, something like that.
Right. Yeah. So there's only a couple FRQs. So if you struggle with FRQs, maybe this could be problematic. AP exams aren't graded on a curve. That's nothing new. Don't worry if you don't complete parts of a question. Okay. Try to complete all parts of the question. All right, and then what it does is it just goes through the process of what you will do once you get this done. The exams questions are viewed in the web browser like Chrome. Students type or write their response outside the browser. Then they can choose 3 options to submit responses. If there's a way to test this out, to kind of test out or simulate the browser, which I imagine there would be, I would try to figure out which one works easiest for you, whether it's a laptop or whether it's your phone. I would hate to do something like that on the phone just because that would kind of freak me out, but whatever works for you.
Sir, is it true that we don't have to draw any graphs this year?
Correct. That you as not as part of your answer, you're going to have to draw graphs in order to figure out what's going on. So, in order to maybe come to answers that they're asking for, right? So it might ask you about what happens to price level or what happens to unemployment. In that case, you need to draw a graph. Now, I would still, just if they do, I can't imagine why they would. But if there is one that's required as an answer, I've never had to tell a group of kids that they didn't have to worry about drawing the graph correctly. So just try to draw your graphs correctly.
All right.
Okay.
Let's see. All right, and then this is just going through the process of sending the exam, and I'm looking for testing of accommodations, world language exams, none of that. Okay, so 5 steps to take before exam day. Again, I said check your technology. Just make sure that you're able to access everything. Receive your exam confirmation and email and e-ticket emails. If we get within a day or 2 of the exam and you haven't received that email, it might have been sent to an old email of yours. It might have been sent to your parents' email. So just make sure that as you get close to that day, and I'll remind you that you need to go online. Actually, I won't remind you because we won't be having classes anymore at that point in time. But just make sure that you have an e-ticket before you get to the day of the exam itself. And you can go on the AP website, review your information on College Board, make sure you're good to go. Check your technology, your device. So if you guys want, I can send this to you too, I think. It might have already been sent to you, actually. All right. So they have a demo, so you can go on and check the demo and make sure that you're good to go. So you should be in that email received. So here's the demo page, and I'm going to click it and just see what happens here. And then after I do this, I'll let you guys go. It's loading for me. It's not. I'm having all kinds of tech issues. So check on that. Oh, here we go. All right. So it ended up. So yeah, I'm going to get back with you guys next class on Wednesday just to make sure you received either this email or an equivalent email with this PDF. Just so we're good. Just so I'm sure that we're good to go. If not, I'll send this to you later on. Only homework is to work on that multiple choice. I'll fix that multiple choice today so you guys have access to it. Good to go?
All right.
All right. Make sure you get that safe browser thing figured out.
Okay.
I'll stay on if you have any questions.
Thank you, sir.
All right.
So
I got a question.
Yeah.
So since like Benedictine is not doing final exams, will this AP exam like do anything for our grade at Benedictine or no?
No.
Okay. But like it goes on our record and everything, so it's still possible to see from other places.
If you get college credit.
Yeah.
Yes. It's important in that way. My issue is that I think it's like the 27th or something you guys take that exam, and if that's the case, I want you to know what your grade is in my class soon after the 21st, which is the last day of school for you. So if I were to, leave that open for you to get a grade on, that's just dragging it out too long.
Yeah.
That's my thought process now. I might change my mind by Wednesday, but that's at least what I'm thinking right now.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
all right. So just have one question. So
Yeah.
you said it's May 27th.
I believe. Let me double check on that, Cobes,
All right.
because that's kind of bugging me now because I saw that. I want to say that's when they meant for you to say that you get your e-ticket. AP exam schedule 2020. No, Kobe, it's the 21st.
21st.
Yeah, it is the 21st. I thought it was later. I thought
Yeah, I was
sure
thinking
it was
later.
Huh?
I was thinking it was later, but so we should be able to take it right after your class then. Or
You should be able. We're not gonna. I'll have a review session on that day if you want to come in.
gotcha.
But what you should probably. Yeah, I think we could do a review session on that day. Sure. Last day of classes.
Yeah. Yeah, and then is there a set time you have to take it or
2.
2? All right. Thank you. See you on Wednesday.
All right.